Hey, you awesome people, this is Sapta, and if you're here for the first time, this is the place where I help designers build and scale their career with tips, suggestions, and tutorials. So if you're into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. A few days back, I completed 3 years with my present employer, Swiggy, and I also realized that I spent almost half of my entire professional design career here. Profound, isn't it? So on the day of my work anniversary, I wrote a thread on Twitter about the things that I learned in the past couple of years, 6 years and so. Some of you had requested me to make a video on the same where I speak in a little detail about the learnings that I have made in the past 6 years. So here I am. And if you stay till the end, I promise that I will also give you one bonus learning which was not mentioned on the Twitter thread. So let's get started right after the jingle. Number 1, don't blindly follow anything or anyone. Ask questions, a lot of them. Make it your habit, not just for design-related stuff, but anything in your life. Even if it's something which people have been believing for decades and centuries, you don't necessarily have to believe it without knowing the real reason behind it. For example, if someone comes and tells you that you shouldn't eat anything during solar eclipse, you should try and find out what's the scientific and logical explanation behind this belief. If you're convinced, sure, go ahead. But if you're not, then you don't necessarily have to believe it. In the same way, at work, if someone comes and tells you that our users are not liking it, let's do changes 1, 2, and 3. You should ask the questions, what makes you feel that the users are not liking it? Do you have any data or insights to back it up? And what makes you feel that changes 1, 2, and 3 will make our users like it? If you're convinced with the answers, okay, well and good. But if you're not, then in the process of this tough question and answers, you will discover the core reason or the real reason behind the problem, the root cause as we like to call it. And once you know that, it'll be much easier for you to find the appropriate solution, which could be way different from the changes 1, 2, and 3 that was initially proposed. Number 2 is about rules. It's very easy to learn any rule. They're written everywhere in books, blogs, posts, articles, and so many different places. It's, however, a little tougher to apply them to your need. And it's much more tough to know when and how to break them. You see, rules are nothing but a set of things which worked for a majority of the use cases, and some smart person might have written them down as a rule and published them so that everyone else can use them for our benefits. But here's the thing, your case or the situation that you are in doesn't have to be one of the majority ones. Hence, you need to understand what exactly you are doing by asking questions, and once you know, you may need to modify, break, or change the rules to fit it to your need. So remember, following rules is not always correct, and breaking rules is not always bad. First principles again. Number 3, don't try to be a specialist too early in life. In the early stages of your career, everything you can know, you must know. And by early, I mean anything less than 5 years. You cannot get a PhD without completing your high school, right? It's the same here. Your skills are like a pyramid. They're formed like a pyramid where, one skill is stacked beside each other, on top of each other, and so on. And in the early stages, you build the base of it, the foundation, which is the wider part at the bottom. And to build that, you need to know and learn a lot of different things to build a strong and a robust foundation. Once the foundation is built, you keep working on your skills, which automatically builds your pyramid. And over time, you form a peak at the top, which is nothing but your expertise. Now, if you try and build this peak abnormally before itself without building the foundation, you are essentially building a pole and not a pyramid. And that might break because it doesn't have a strong foundation. So be careful and build your foundation first. Number 4 is about learning. To start with, be a jack of all trades. And over time, try and be a master of a few trades and not just one. So you see, now I'm talking about building a pyramid with more than one peaks. Don't wait to be a master of one before trying your hands on the other. Things can keep happening in parallel. Just keep learning the skills which are adjacent to your core skills. For example, try to learn to do the things which are done right before or right after the things that you normally do. For example, if you're a pure visual designer, a pure visual UI designer who takes the input from somebody else, maybe the flows and the wireframes from somebody else, and builds visuals over it, and after that passes it on to an illustrator or a motion designer. Now, if you are that person, you should try and learn to build some flows yourself. You should try and discover what does it take to build a flow, what does it take to do some research, or what does it take to make some illustrations or animations, things which are right before or right after. Over time, this will ensure that you have covered the almost entire spectrum of things which are available, which will in turn help you build that foundation, that base that we are talking about. But here's the thing about skills. They're useful only when you know how to apply them. Yes, skills can be learned by watching tutorials online, but here's the thing about tutorials. Every tutorial is demonstrated using one particular example. Now, the point of this tutorial is not to teach you that one single example, but to teach you the fundamentals. And using an example is a good way of learning, and hence everyone does it. So after watching a tutorial, if you feel that that example is the only thing that you've learned, then you haven't watched it in the right way. I suggest you go back and watch it once again. And this time, concentrate on the steps, the processes, the tiny details, along with the final output. You see, in real life, there can be millions of different situations and you cannot watch million tutorials. So make it a point that whenever you're watching any tutorial, watch it so well, concentrate on the fundamentals so that you can apply that skills and the techniques to anything that comes to your life later. Number 5 isn't really about design, it's about life. Let me tell you one truth about life. Life is mostly going to be unfair to you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, it might seem like you always lose out when life is unfair, but the truth is at times you gain as well. So overall, it just balances out. I remember one situation that happened to me in the past. During one of my appraisal cycles, I had worked really hard. Well, of course, I try and work hard almost every single time, but that cycle was different. I had exceeded every limit of hard work. I almost logged day and night, shipped tons of things in very short timelines. Essentially, in my entire work life, if I had to pick up one instance where I certainly deserved a promotion, this was it. But guess what? I didn't get promoted. Now that affected me mentally and emotionally so much that I had to take a week off from my work to recover from it. I was this close to moving out from that company where I was working back then because I felt I was not appreciated. But for some reasons, I chose to stay back. The immediate next cycle of appraisals, I worked fairly hard, but not insanely hard as before. I would take my lazy lunch and coffee breaks, my personal time offs, business as usual, nothing more, nothing less. But guess what? I got promoted this time. So was it fair the first time when I didn't get promoted? I don't think so. Was it fair the next time when I got promoted? Maybe not. But I gained in one and I lost in the other. So you see, overall, it just balances out. If you feel that life had only been bad to you, just wait. Maybe a lot of goodness is on the way. Number 6 is an extension of the previous one actually. Yeah, life can be unfair most of the times, but that doesn't mean that you endure everything. Whenever you see any unfairness, object to it. Raise your concern and put forward your thoughts. Remember, if you do not object to unfairness, it means that you're supporting it. And that's not right. Do not ever take anyone for granted, nor let anyone else take you for granted. Remember that. Number 7, barely 5% of people in this world are doers. Rest of them are at best armchair thinkers. Now, I didn't conduct any survey to arrive at these numbers. I'm speaking from my experience of having interacted with people in the last 6 years, and the numbers are dangerously close to the ones that I've said. Here, by doing, I mean doing anything. It could be starting something, building something, making something, anything at all. Most of us like to plan, discuss, think, ideate, and criticize. But doing something, actually executing it is a different ballgame altogether because it needs insane amounts of time, effort, energy, and dedication. And that is the reason why majority of the people are not doers. And when they do not do, they always give themselves some reasons why they couldn't do it. These are excuses mostly. Now, if you are a doer and when you do things, you will always find a set of people who will be talking behind your back and hating you because you probably have proved their excuses wrong by actually doing it, by executing it. Don't let these people deter you. They're mostly jealous beings who are trying to pull you down. Just stay away from them. Remember, some wise person had once said that first they ignore you, then they hate you, then they fight you, and then you win. So if you have haters, it could also mean that you're halfway into winning. Never forget why you started. Be that 5% and not the 95%. Number 8, and probably one of the most important things that I believe has made a significant difference to my design career so far. If you are a designer, get better at lateral and analytical thinking, logical reasoning, and craft your skills as well. Now, these are two sides of the same coin. In the world, there are many thinkers, great thinkers, and there are many great crafters as well. But there are relatively fewer people who are thinkers and who can also craft effectively. Try and be this. If you, then you will become an invaluable asset for any organization. And trust me, my friend, that's going to change the game for you. Number 9, here's a bonus which was not there on Twitter. No matter who you are, what you are, good or bad, whatever, there will always be a company, a client, or an organization which will be willing to pay you more than what you're earning right now. That's a fact. Makes you happy, right? But before being happy, hear this one out as well. No matter how good you are, how great you are, or how famous you are replaceable. So keep these two things in mind. It will help you take effective decisions in the future. So those were some of the important things that I learned in the last 6 years of my career. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. And if you have any learnings, please drop them in the comments as well, which would be good for our viewers. We can have a discussion down there. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And you know what? 57% of you have not subscribed to my channel yet, which is so sad. If you really like my effort and the videos that I'm making, please consider subscribing. It motivates me a lot to bring in more content for you. This is Sapta. See you guys in the next one.